What's going on, guys? It's Bricks all over, back again for part 2 of the LEGO Star Wars Ewok Village review. And this is set number 10236. Has 1,990 pieces. And in part 2 we'll be focusing on the builds, and I'll put a link to the part 1, which was based on the minifigures, in the cards and description below. So let's begin. First we'll start off with the small little builds, and here we have a little speeder bike. It's kind of basically the same as all the other speeder bikes that have come out from LEGO, because there's not much they can change about it. And the main difference here is that it has a clear little stand, which is really nice to make it have the hovering effect. But still, it's basically the same, but if you don't have any, then this is a little bonus for the Imperials. And also another bonus build is this little catapult for the Ewoks. We have just different details, different browns and dark browns decorating it, and then there's leaves on the surface, and then there's a container of extra ammo. And this type of catapult is kind of unique in the way it works. It's basically you just press down on that, and then it launches them, and then you can reload it with those. And here is the Ewok Village itself, which will start over on this separate tree that is separated by a bridge. And the bridge can be removed by Technic pins at that spot and right there. So here we start off at the base, and there's like little mushrooms on this side that are printed. And each tree is made up of just all sorts of different colors. They're built very similar each other, and there's leaves, dark brown, the dark tan or dark orange, and leaves are different colors as well. And there's a rope ladder for the Imperials to climb up, or you could just say that's the Ewoks' way to get up, because there's no other way on here. But here's Logray just hanging out, and then here's the top of the tree, and there are a lot of different branches, and it's a pretty complex build of how you're supposed to build them in a certain way. And then there's torches on each side of the entrance to the little room inside. And when we turn the tree around, we get a look at the backside, and LEGO really didn't go that lazy on how the backside looks, because they still have the branches. And then there's like a little feature here where you pull this out, and it's hard to do it one-handed with holding the camera still. But if you pull out this, if I don't knock the whole thing over, there's a trapdoor that Logray is on. And if we can pull this out, it's supposed to slide down the side, and as you can see, he gets stuck sometimes, but once you get it, he falls down. But it's kind of tough to get minifigures to fall down every time. And now we're moving on to the main part of the trees, but as I mentioned, the bridge can detach, so this tree can be separated. But the bridge build is a really nice build. I have Princess Leia on there, and there's a lot of other studs across there that you can stand minifigures on, and all those jointed arms were very tedious to put together and line up properly. So in the main section, we have a lot of activity going on, a lot of scenes from Return of the Jedi. We have the drums there, which Wicket is playing, and then back here, Tebow is playing the drums with the stormtrooper helmets and stuff, which I really like the reference to that. And then there's drumsticks in those barrels, and then there's like an extra spear behind him with another set of drumsticks. And then there's this turning thing over the fire, and now you have to spin this way to make it work. And he can kind of spin, and then you can also spin the fire so he is rotating over it. They didn't have 2 of those fire pits, which is a little disappointing, but of course it couldn't fit up there. So if they just made this side build with 2 of them, and that would have been much better. But I still really like how they captured the look of it. And back behind the drums, between two of the trees, we have Luke tied up, and it wasn't really this way in the movie, but it's mostly supposed to be for Han and Luke tied up, and there's like just ropes that you connect from the back and move it around the minifigure so they're tied up, waiting to be put on the fire pit. And over on the right side we have C-3PO's throne chair, and it's really pretty accurate with the handlebars that the Ewoks can hold, and he can sit there, and then there's the different flames. But there's also a feature where it can have the floating effect, which I'll show you now. So when you go to the back of the chair, you see this transparent bar, and they're connected by clips, and when you can move that up to here, you can see that it kind of makes the chair look like it's hovering. And from the front view, you really can't see the rod that makes it look like it's hovering, but it just looks like there's nothing holding it up. And now we're going to move on to look at the trees, and first we're going to start off with the tree on the left side. And if I can get my camera in there, there's steps there that lead up to the second floor, which has pretty much the same design all the other trees have, just arranged in a little bit of a different way. But when you look at it from far away, it doesn't look like it's the same, or even close up you don't always notice it. But there's torches there, and then in there is another room, and in that room we have a crossbow with some space, and then over here we have a stickered element where if I can get it to show it, it's kind of like the instructions on how to use the wings that the Ewoks had, but in this set there is none included. And down below from that room there's another section where Chief Sherpa is, and we have a little bed and also a little bedside table. And here's a little bit better look at that. It's basically just a tile with, there's a torch in there, but it's pretty dark also. And underneath this section of the tree, which is the same part of the tree, we have this little lever, and if we push this down, we bring it over here and it activates this spider web, which can also be hidden away and activated again by that feature. And before we move on to the next tree, we also have this other feature where we have the ATST hammer smashers, and there's this lever at the other side, which I'll show you in a little bit, that if you pull it out, it crashes them together, and then you can open them by pushing in, and then you can do it like that if it's much quicker, but that's basically how it looks, and I'll show you the feature. And what I really like about this most is that the piece to activate it is through this, and it's very simple. It hasn't got caught any, but sometimes this stem piece does fall off, but it doesn't all the time. But you can see it through there as I push it in and out, and that works really well. And next we move on to the middle tree, since it's kind of like a triangle type shaping, and as you can see it's kind of the same type of leaf design as the other one, but it still looks really great, and there's a room in there which if we turn it around we get to this little room, which is the fire pit. It's not anything too spectacular, but it is kind of plays a role in the movie when they were when C-3PO was telling the stories to the Ewoks. And down at the bottom of this tree you can kind of see where there's an opening feature here. It's kind of hidden, but there you can put some weapons like the lightsaber and a spear. And here we're moving on to the final and third tree, or actually fourth, which is pretty much the same in a way, just different, built differently, and has 2 stories. And on the top level we have a little bag, and also a carrot and some sausages, or what appear to be sausages. And then down here, if I can get some lighting in there, there's a little cauldron with carrots, which I guess they cook their carrots then. And down here we have Chewbacca caught in a net, and the rope leads all the way up here, is tied up all the way here, and it is one of those ropes with a stud at the end. And when you move that up and down, by pulling this in and out, you are able to move Chewbacca up and down, and it's hard to get a good angle using just one hand since I'm using the other to pull this, but it goes all the way through, and when you just let it go, it goes all the way to the ground, and then that's the maximum height you can go to. And right beside Chewbacca in the net, and one thing I forgot to mention is the net is connected by those 4 things that you put the holes of the net on, and it just drops the minifigure in. But one thing besides Chewbacca is there's little steps to this little hiding place, which opens actually a different way. And what's inside here? There's writing on the wall. Those are stickers. There's a scout trooper with tally marks, which I guess is how many they defeated. And then over on this side, there's a heart with Ewok writing, presumably names. And one last feature that I need to point out is the movement of your trees. And what I mean by that is what you can do with these 3 tops of trees is rotate them all the way 360. But one complaint that I have with the building of this, which isn't really Lego's fault, is that these railings are very difficult and tedious to put together with all these droid arms, and you can see some of it are falling apart. Some of it's pretty easy to put together, but it really takes up a lot of time, and I'm struggling to rotate these trees as I'm supposed to show you, but here you go. You can rotate them 360 if you have all of them lined up. It's probably easier if it's perfectly lined up, but as you can see, it just rotated all the way around, and then you can rotate it the other way, of course, if of course you have all of this out of the way, and it's falling apart as I speak. But all 3 of these trees rotate. This is probably the easiest because it doesn't have the railing. This one has the railing still, but this tree on the outside does not rotate like the others, but that is the feature for that. So that wraps up the review on the LEGO Star Wars Ewok Village set number 10236. And just to let you know my thoughts, this is a perfect set. I rate it 10 out of 10. And that is partially also because Episode 6 and the Ewoks are my favorite part of Star Wars. But LEGO really didn't go lazy with this set. They added a lot of different combinations of colors and parts, and even though some of the trees look similar, it really doesn't bug me too much because from just looking at it, you can't always just tell. And all the play features, even though I don't normally play with my sets, I really like how they added all these in and added all the scenes in that they could from the movie, even if it doesn't fit in this setting. But that basically concludes it for today. Hope you have enjoyed. I'll put the minifigures part 1 in the description below and in the cards. Hope you have enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Bye.